Hey guys, Chad here. So this episode is a bit wonky. Something weird was going on with my mic, and I didn't realize it until I started editing. Unfortunately, Colt and I are busy enough that we didn't really have a chance to re-record the episode. So if you can just stick with us through this one, I promise the audio will be back to normal next week. Thanks a bunch, and enjoy the episode.
Did Jack the Ripper actually live in London? Which parts of the human body were his favorite? Did he immigrate to the United States? Find out all that and more on Unsolved Mysteries Solved. Hey, what's up? It's your boy, Colt Joyce. I'm hosting this one a little bit more than normal. I did the research, and with me is...
Chad Kimmons, PhD in solving unsolved mysteries.
Correct. We're both PhDs.
I would appreciate it if you would call me doctor, because I do have a PhD. So,
yeah, well, okay, that's my bad. I thought doctor to doctor we could keep it casual, but
as some of my professors in college would say, I didn't spend 15 years getting this degree to be called by my first name.
Hey, listen, man, that's valid. That's valid stuff right there. Well, Chad, how much do you know about Jack the Ripper? How much knowledge do you have?
Everything. So let's just skip this episode.
Oh, hell yeah.
No, I don't. I don't know. I mean, I've seen what's that one, Cell or whatever. It's a movie about him. I know he killed hookers. Like, that's about it.
Okay, cool. Well, let me set the scene for you. It's the mid-19th century. We're in London, specifically London's East End of Whitechapel. Population swelling, a whole bunch of immigrants coming in from different parts of Europe, and the city is getting filthy. Oh no. But because all these new people are coming in, the conditions are getting pretty rough. There's just not enough housing, there's not enough food for everyone, so robbery's pretty common, violence is super prevalent, addiction, people are drinking a whole bunch, there's drugs. And because of the poverty levels, a lot of women were forced into the prostitution industry, just because of how shitty the city was at the time.
Now, are we saying they were forced in as in, like, people were literally forcing them into it, or like they just didn't have any other options?
Just kind of like the no other options situation where everyone's super poor. There's no way to make any money. There's no jobs for anyone. So,
well, I imagine there were probably people who were forced into it too. Not to make light of it, but I imagine human trafficking, was pretty common back in those days.
Yeah, there's not a ton of good stuff happening in mid-19th century Great Britain at all. So that's the world we're living in. Let's get straight into the murders because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
That's what I say every time I'm driving around people who don't know how to drive. Let's get straight into the murders. The hell out of my way. Honestly, just when I'm around people ever, just let's. You ever seen Rick and Morty?
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, here I go kill it again.
Oh boy, here I go kill it again. Okay, so because this part of London sucks ass and there's people getting murdered all over the place, it's difficult to tell how many victims were actually killed by Jack the Ripper. But when they were doing investigations, there were 11 separate murders stretching from the 3rd of April, 1888 to the 13th of February, 1891, that were grouped together into what are called the Whitechapel murders.
So he's not nearly as prolific as I was led to believe.
No.
Like, popular culture likes to tell us that, like, yeah, he killed 15 people in one day. He was the most prolific. Actually, I think, wasn't he the most? I'll let you tell your story. You know what? Yep. Go ahead, man.
No worries. I'm about to crush his legend even more because only 5 of those murders, known as the canonical 5, were widely believed to be the work of Jack the Ripper. So we only got 5 people, and he's the most famous murderer of all time. That's it.
I'm immediately disappointed by
that. Yeah. So only 5 of them. And we'll walk through those real quick. And because this is a comedy podcast, I'm not going to talk super much about what organs were removed and all that shit. I'm just going to give a very brief overview of how people were killed, and then we'll talk about the fun stuff. The attributes of the Jack the Ripper killings were deep throat slashes, abdominal and genital area mutilation, removal of internal organs, and progressive facial mutilations. So that's what we're working with.
I knew the genital one, so I don't know what that says about me, but that was the one that I stuck out of my mind. Yeah, he really went after the naughty bits there.
Yeah. So obviously not a good dude. He's killing folks, he's slashing them up. But let's go through the 5 murders real quick. So Mary Ann Nichols was the first one. That was August of 1888. There were no witnesses. And then next month, Abby Chapman, September 1888. There was one witness for this one, didn't see the murder, but saw Annie with, quote, a dark-haired man of shabby, genteel appearance. And I don't know what that means, but I want to get your take on that.
You know what? I'm going to look this up, like, as we're clickety-clacking here. Hold on. What does genteel mean? Polite, refined, or respectable.
Okay.
So like a gentleman.
Sounds good.
Proper, yeah, nobility, whatever.
I wonder if that's going to tie into the theories we come up with later, that our dude is a gentleman with a top hat walking around killing folks.
He keeps the organs in his hat.
Yes. Oh, okay. Well, we've solved it and we can stop now. All right. And then later that same month, we got a twofer because Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes were both killed in the same night. And no witnesses on those either. Yeah.
Okay.
2 and 1.
Okay.
And then the last one, Mary Jane Kelly, November 1888, no witnesses. So those are the 5 that are his, apparently.
So was there just nobody around? Like, I mean, I know they happened at night and whatnot, but like, if he's killing hookers, you'd think there would be other people around. I mean, I've seen movies. They all stand around on corners. Like, nobody saw this shit going on.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know what 1888 London looks like, but all the movies tell me they got like street rats running around, like finding people. I don't know. I thought it'd be more bustling than what's.
If there's street rats, I've played Skyrim. You got to kill all the chickens too, or else you're still wanted for murder. So one of those rats knows what's going on, and he's just not talking.
Yeah,
he's been paid off or bought off, or I don't know. But if Skyrim's taught me anything.
Yeah, but there was one witness for one of the murders, and it wasn't even like a definitive, like, this guy did it. It was just, we saw her with a dude earlier in the day, and now she's dead. And that's all we got.
Oh, so she just saw the person with someone. Like, she didn't see him, like, crouched over her body. And she was just like, nope, going the other way.
No, it wasn't even that. It was just like, oh, yeah, I saw her maybe this week with a dark-haired man of shabby, genteel appearance. Great. Thank you for that. That's not helpful at all.
That describes half of London. Thank you so much.
All right. So after those 5 people got killed, there were obviously more murders, but most people think those 5 were the only ones that Jack did. And it's assumed that the crimes ended because the culprit died, was imprisoned, went to a mental institution, or immigrated. So we got to pick one of those, apparently.
We don't have to pick one of those.
Oh, you're right.
I mean, as like there were, I don't know. We'll get there.
You'll get there. The immigrated one is interesting to me. They're just like, oh yeah, he got bored. He moved to the United States.
What? Maybe they were on his tail and or trail, one of the two, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to go murder in the United States instead. I wonder if that lines up with anything, like the end of the murders there. If that lines up with anything over here. Did you find anything about
I didn't. I'm sure there's a history documentary on there's like a documentary on the History Channel or something about that, but I just went with like this chunk of his history because everything else is pretty just like making up stuff. And obviously they're all wrong, we're correct, and we're going to come up with the correct answer. So I don't want to lean too far into these wrong theories that have been come up with.
Right, and if anybody questions us, well, we've talked about what happens.
Yes. If you haven't listened to the first 2 episodes, go back and listen to that, and then think about what Jack the Ripper did, and then make your decision.
Think real long and hard about whether or not you want to question us. Okay.
All right. So, he's killed the 5 girls.
He killed 5 guys. That's one of my favorite restaurants.
Oh fuck. Now 5 Guys is safe, dude. That's an experience. If you order a small fry, they give you like a bag full of fries, so that's worth doing if you're into that.
I did know that. I was aware that you get just ridiculous amounts of food there, but I've never actually eaten at a 5 Guys.
It's not very good, but all right. So
don't worry, guys. This all ties in later.
This is important to the story. So he's killed the 5 girls, and the cops are finally caring. So
what was the last one? Just like a noblewoman or something? They're like, oh, them hookers, no big deal.
Everything I've read about the police force in this time period just makes them look like bumbling idiots. So let's walk through their tactics of what they've been doing during this time period. Okay, so after the murders, they came together with a large team of policemen, and they did house-to-house inquiries throughout all of Whitechapel. So they just went around and knocked on people's doors and interviewed 2,000 people, investigated 300, and detained 80 people.
I'm honestly surprised they detained anyone. I mean, if movies have taught me anything, it's that British police are overly polite, and like they could knock on a door, dude's in the middle of dissecting someone like on the floor, and they're just like, oh well, nothing to see here. You said you didn't do it, so off we'll go.
We trust you implicitly.
What's that? Someone said something against the Queen. Let's go throw them in the Tower of London.
Yeah, so they detained 80 people, but none of those people, it was just all circumstantial evidence. They didn't have any solid leads.
Well, that was before forensics.
Before they could figure out how to do blood work, any of that shit. But here is my favorite part. And I'm going to read this verbatim from the Wikipedia because it's fantastic. The investigation was initially headed by Detective Inspector Emmanuel Reed. After the murder of Nichols, Detective Inspectors Frederick Aberline, Henry Moore, and Walter Andrews were sent in from the Central Office of Scotland Yard to assist. The City of London police were involved under Detective Inspector James McWilliam after the Eddowes murder, which occurred in the City of London. But during all of this, the overall direction of the murder inquiries was hampered by the fact that the newly appointed leader of the Criminal Investigation Department, Robert Anderson, was on leave in Switzerland between September and October when 3 of the victims were killed.
So,
homeboy that's running the thing was in Switzerland while the murders were happening, and like they just missed it. He wasn't?
He is Jack the Ripper.
Whoa.
That's what I'm calling it right now. That is like, well, going on holiday, cheerio, and then like stayed back to start killing people. Keep killing people, my bad. So this is in the middle, right? It's not like the first 3.
It's
that
the middle 3 that he just was out of town for, and he was supposed to run it, and then they just didn't do jack shit while 3 other people were murdered. They were like, well, our leader's out of town. I guess we'll just wait until he gets back.
That's like you stop in the middle of a like football game and just let the other team score 4 touchdowns because your quarterback had to go pee.
You're correct. Like, that is what happened. Yeah. So because the police were doing such a terrible job, there was a group of citizens in London's East End called the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee that patrolled the street looking for, quote, suspicious characters. So that was the other solution that the people of London came up with.
I imagine this is like just turned into like some kind of witch hunt, like almost like the Salem witch trials. Like, they knock on the door. Have you seen anything suspicious? Well, I don't want to tell tales out of school, but my neighbor was washing his clothes at night the other day. Burn the witch!
Burn him. Detain him.
And the neighbor on the other side, that guy's just really loud. He's trying to get rid of him. My neighbor on the other side, I saw him burying a body, and they don't even ask questions. They just go take him and murder him.
I didn't see any like evidence.
Street justice.
Yeah, street. This is the origin of Batman, is what we're getting at, and that'll be part of the explanation we come up with later. So,
I just really like that idea that it just turns into a witch hunt. They're like, well, the cops weren't doing their job, so we had to do it for them. You murdered half of Whitechapel because everyone was a suspect.
Yeah, and only 5 people died to the actual killer. The rest of them, it was just...
You idiots killed at least 100 times more people than the actual killer, who, oh, look, there he is. He just killed another one. I'm watching him do it. Go get him.
But he said it wasn't him, and we're all polite, so it's fine.
He's clearly a gentleman. He wouldn't lie to us. This is the 1800s where no one can tell lies.
Yeah, the internet hadn't been invented yet. You can't tell lies at that time. Okay, so no solid leads on who the killer was ever. But here's the profile the police came out.
And an absentee police captain who is totally not Jack the Ripper and is actually in Switzerland.
Oh, wink, wink. Definitely. So here's what they came up with. Because of the mutilations, they thought it was a butcher, a slaughterer, a surgeon, or a physician. And they made the profile was a solitary dude, quote, subject to periodic attacks of homicidal and erotic mania. So that's absolutely nothing. They've just narrowed it down to a man who owns a knife and likes killing people. That's all we have.
And, what was it? Erotic? A man who owns a knife, has weird sexual fantasies, and likes killing people. There again, that could be half of London in the 1800s.
Yeah. And there's no hard evidence it was a man either, other than the name Jack the Ripper, which is there's nothing. There's no evidence for anything here. So I don't know what to do with it. But
now, were these 5, were they all prostitutes?
Yes, they were all in that industry, I would say. Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty much all that we have to work with. But one last thing before we solve this thing. During the investigation, there were hundreds of letters sent to police and newspapers with people claiming to be the killer. 3 of them were somewhat important, but only one of them is called the Saucy Jack postcard. So we're going to look at that one. Oh, pardon me. The Saucy Jackie postcard is what he called himself.
Oh, well, that changes everything, and I don't care anymore.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm kidding.
All right, so this one's kind of important because it was received right after the double killings of Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes, and it referenced the killings before the information went public, so they believed it was real. And it's basically just him taking credit for the killings, but the fun part is he refers to himself as Saucy Jackie multiple times in the postcard.
Why though? Why would you purposely take that name?
I don't know. He'd already been established as Jack the Ripper in newspapers and stuff like that before.
Right, and that's such a better name. Saucy Jackie. Saucy Jackie sounds like a terrible stripper name. Or I don't know, the name that would give someone on the playground to make fun of them. Like that dude that can't keep condiments off of his shirt or something.
Yeah.
There's always that one kid in elementary school that's got mustard stains and shit. Oh, look at Saucy Jackie. He's got sriracha on his shirt again.
Sounds like a barbecue sauce to me. Put some Saucy Jackie on those ribs. Ooh, that's what you need. But that's all we got to work off of. So I'd love to hear the true story of Jack the Ripper and who it actually was from you.
Well, I'm still I think it was what was the captain's name?
His name was Robert Anderson.
Robert Anderson. That just sounds like a serial killer to me.
Okay.
I mean, one person gets killed. Well, probably more than that. But of these 5, one person gets killed. Okay. Suddenly, Mr. Anderson, oh, I got to go to Switzerland. Why do you have to go to Switzerland, Captain? Well, I don't know. He makes up a reason, right? He never leaves. He doesn't go to Switzerland. He sticks around. He's hiding in brothels. He's living under people's front stoops, just waiting for the perfect moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then he finds, an unsuspecting prostitute, working. She's a hardworking girl. She's just trying to make a living for her and her 9 children. I assume because everybody had 9 kids back then because everybody was Catholic. But she's just trying to make a living, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, everybody thinks I'm in Switzerland. I'm gonna go murder her and cut her vagina off, which is a drastic turn, by the way. Yeah, so he gets away with 3 more, and then he comes back, and they're like, you'll never believe it. There were 3 more murders. And he's like, what? Well, we better solve this thing. And then there's another murder. And I think the 5th one, I'm really going off the rails here now. I think the 5th one wasn't him. It was probably like just some copycat.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, I'm in the clear. They knew where I was when that 5th one happened. Yeah. So like they can't find that guy. And he's just like, oh, well, shrug. Like, guess we'll never find out who it was. And secretly he's got 4 or 5 vaginas in his basement.
Oh God. Oh no.
And I don't even want to think about what he's doing with those. Like,
me neither.
This guy's he's a sicko. He's a sick
Okay. Well, Robert Anderson, that's your man.
Robert Anderson is Jack the Ripper.
Okay.
Sick bastard.
Sick bastard. Robert
You know what?
Anderson.
He might also be D.B. Cooper.
Oh shit! Crossover.
He's D.B. Cooper and responsible for the disappearance of the Roanoke colony.
Shit! It's one man doing all the things.
He's a goddamn vampire. He's been around forever.
Oh, well, that's an interesting tie-in to my theory, because I think the word saucy Jackie is very important to this. Because I'm here to accuse a female of being Jack the Ripper, because it was Jackie, the saucy one, doing the ripping all along. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, yes, we're totally on the same page here. It was a separate prostitute who was just thinning out the herd a little bit, taking out competition. Goes by the name Saucy Jackie. She's messing up other prostitutes. She's trying to take over the streets. That's my theory.
And she's taking their vagina. I don't know why I'm so stuck on the vagina thing, but she's cutting off the vaginas as a sign. Like, this is how you make your money. Well, now it's mine.
That's part of it, apparently. I mean, this is an interesting thing to know. I didn't bring up that the vaginas were being cut off. That's something you just knew off the top of your head. So I'm going to just leave that on the table, and we could deal with that whatever we want.
That was the one thing I remembered, and I don't know why that stuck out. I don't know.
Oh, God.
And didn't you say it was only like one of them had their genitals mutilated or something? And I'm like, yeah, there's 15 vaginas in this guy's basement. Wait, where did he get the other ones?
That is what happened, and that is what you said. So,
yeah, no, I could see that. I mean, because it's the 1800s. Who's going to suspect a woman?
Yeah.
But nurses would have had to. They would have had to have known how to do those things as well in order to assist.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she was a nurse. Maybe she was putting herself through nursing school by working as a prostitute.
Maybe. It's London. Anything can happen except for the cops being competent. at the time. That's the only thing that's not possible.
That seems to be a huge, like, in any kind of mass murder case. Like, that seems to be a huge common theme. I don't know if you're familiar with BTK, bind, torture, kill.
Wasn't that a Kansas thing? Was that dude from like
Yeah.
Wichita or something? Yeah.
From Park City, which is just north of Wichita, and he is currently incarcerated in El Dorado State Penitentiary, which is about 30 minutes from there. The police were widely believed to be incompetent, during that time period. And the only reason he got caught was because he wanted the recognition. So, 10 years later, after he had stopped killing or something, he started taunting them, and they finally caught him.
Oh, geez. Oh, God. Huh.
I mean, it was just back in 2004 that they caught him or something, and all the murders were done in the late 80s or early 90s. I can't remember exactly, but yeah. So that seems to be a common theme, is ridiculously incompetent police.
Yeah. Back in these 1800 or 1900, no, 1888 days, I guess they didn't really have very much to work with either. There wasn't any kind of forensic evidence or anything to go off of. So I'm curious, what would happen now if something like this happened? I'm sure it'd be a lot easier to solve, but
yeah, probably. I mean, I know people who think that they could get away with murder, and I'm just like, no, you couldn't.
Definitely not.
You definitely couldn't get away with murder. You're very intelligent, but forensics evidence, I've gone through how I would get away with murder so many times, which, not to alarm any of our listeners, but we've all thought about it.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Okay. Just me then? Okay. Well, I guess, yeah. I've thought about how, if I wanted to murder someone, how would I do it? How would I get away with it? And maybe it's just my paranoid nature, but I always think of something where I'm like, nope, there's no way I could get around that,
Mm-hmm.
Like even doing something at night, all dressed in black, and you got the mask on, somebody's going to see me coming out of my house with a ski mask on. And they're going to be like, yeah, he came out of that house, 4 blocks down. And they're going to come fingerprint me and be like, well, so case solved.
Yeah. I feel like it'd be very, very hard to get away with 5 killings like this now, which is a good thing. I want to say on record, that's a good thing.
We are not pro murder unless it makes a good story, but that doesn't mean don't go murdering people.
Yeah, just because you're a fan of this podcast and want us to do a report on something that you've done, don't go kill people. Just do something else unsolvable, and then we'll figure it out.
It's not difficult to not murder people. Colt and I are doing it right now.
We're doing it right now, guys. We're not killing people right now. We're recording a podcast, and it's hard to do 2 things at once.
It really is. I mean, I got to be within range of the mic, and somebody would have to come in here. And there's nobody else in the house right now. So
my arms aren't that long. I can't reach that far to kill someone when I'm sitting in front of a microphone.
Just call a pizza, order a pizza just so you can murder someone. God, this got really dark really fast.
Well,
We went from who is Jack the Ripper to how could we get away with murder?
Right. Yeah. Now that I'm ruminating on the topic I've picked, I think we did a fairly good job of not making it incredibly dark, but boy, I did pick a murder story to be my first report. So
I mean, you say it wasn't that dark, but there was that section in the middle where I was obsessed with vaginas being cut off.
That did happen. That was a part of the podcast that did happen.
That is a thing that did happen. And I am ashamed to be doing this podcast with you, Chad.
All right. Well,
I think this is going to be my last episode.
All right. Well, it's been a good 3. That's it for me. And all right. Well,
dialing 911 as you're ending the podcast.
There's a man in Kansas who's killing people, and that's all we know. So,
sir, do you know he's killing people? I'm not certain, but you should probably go check him out just to be safe.
Just in case. probably go figure something out about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, I understand why you condensed it down, but I really thought this one would take longer to solve.
Yeah.
I thought
I
there'd be
mean,
more evidence, more. I'm surprised at how quick this one was.
yeah.
Not a
I mean,
bad thing. Just
for the amount of like lore, I guess about like Jack the Ripper and how famous he is, or she, according to my theory. There's like nothing like it's not that big of a. It's a big deal. People died, but like it was 5 people.
why couldn't it be both? What if
Oh
the
boy.
captain did the first one,
Okay.
and then to shake the trail was like, I'm going to Switzerland. So he hired another prostitute who, stick with me here, who was putting herself through nursing school. And like the captain used to be, this is just hearsay at this point. Captain used to be, hold on, no, I'm starting over.
Okay.
Don't edit that, by the way. Leave that in. Just to show how dumb I am. So the captain is in league with a prostitute that he's been seeing on the reg.
Right.
She is putting herself through nursing school because that's a thing in the 1800s, even though it's probably not, by selling her body, right?
Right.
So she teaches him how to do all these mutilations. He does the first one, gets a taste for it. Like maybe he's killing one of her rival prostitutes for her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gets a taste for it, but they're on his trail. I don't know what. There was no evidence that they were on his trail, but he thinks they're on his trail. He's paranoid schizophrenic. So he's like, I'm going to go to Switzerland, lay low for a while. You need to kill some more people in order to throw the trail off while I'm out of town. And she's like, I can do that because there's definitely more bitches I want to cut.
Right.
And then he comes back, maybe to really cover his tracks. She's the last one he kills.
Whoa. Okay. Well, now we've written a movie that needs to come out.
Boom. Your mind, the listener's minds, my mind blown. There's gray matter on the wall over here. I don't know about on your side. But...
Oh, yeah. Just covered.
Oh, my God.
Well, sweet.
Anyway.
I think that does it. I think that's my favorite part of these episodes is when we tie everything together at the end. It comes together in this nice, sweet package where everything makes sense, and then we just present it to the audience. So I think we've solved Jack the Ripper.
We did. So clearly, the police chief or whatever that was off in Switzerland was in league with the final victim who he killed to cover his tracks. And I think that's going to do it for this week's episode. And if you enjoyed the episode, the best way to support us at the moment is to rate us 5 stars on iTunes. Make multiple accounts if you have to, and just keep rating us 5 stars night and day, nonstop.
Hell yeah.
Just like we need those stars, guys. And actually, to that point, we are going to, as mentioned in the last episode, we're going to be running not really a giveaway, but just kind of as a way to try and say thank you to the people who are supporting us early on and rating the show and everything. We kind of want to give back to those people. So if you go on iTunes and you rate the show, you don't actually have to rate it 5 stars, although we do appreciate that. But rate the show, leave a review, and you will get a personalized shout out on a future episode. But this is only going to run until the 10th episode goes live. So make sure you go rate the show and get a review in before the 10th episode goes live, because we probably won't be doing shout outs after that. We'll probably just be finishing off the backlog of whatever we have left. You can also support us by word of mouth. Just tell everybody you know to listen to the podcast. And I mean everyone. Strangers on the bus, your family, your friends, your pets. If you can get a hold of your local politicians, get them on the bandwagon. You can also find us on Facebook at Unsolved Mysteries Solved, and on Twitter at Solved Podcast. Like I've said in the past couple of episodes, we were a little bit late to the game on the Twitter thing, and all the good ones were taken, and you can only have 15 characters in your tag. So Solved Podcast is what we were left with. Please don't judge me. And as usual, if you have any mysteries that you want us to solve on the show, or if you just want to drop us a line, maybe you want to tell us how much we suck, you can do that with an email to mysteriessolvedpodcast, all one word, @gmail.com. And until next time, just remember, if you question us, you'll what?
Die in a horrific manner.
I was just going to say be put down, but I guess we've got like super murder on the brain. But yeah, if you question us, you'll be put down. I'm not kidding. This is not a joke.
I am kidding.
But
I
anyway. feel like I need this to be said. We're not going to murder anybody. I don't know what Chad's on about, but again, you're just over there like dialing 911. Yeah, so we'll see you next week with a brand new mystery that we're gonna solve the out of.
Hell yeah. All right. Bye.